Hi folks, just unpacking my gear that I just received from Pi Plates. There's some pretty cool stuff here. Have a tinker plate, a motor plate, relay plate, power plate, actually two power plates, and a DAC-C plate, which is digital acquisition plate, and a DAC-C 2 plate. So all pretty cool stuff. Also got a case plate, and this case plate, really I wanted to order a DIN plate, which is DIN rail mountable, but I will use this. I have, I think, 5 Raspberry Pis, and I'll use this for something. So it's not a waste. Also got a couple of sensors. This, I don't remember the exact part number, but this is just a generalized temperature sensor with a pretty long cable in it. And then this is a Type K thermocouple. I haven't used any of these yet, but they all connect together and stack up, and I'll be talking more about those a little bit later. Okay, ready to start doing some assembly here. What I've got here is a brand new Raspberry Pi 4 with no memory card in the back of it. So your Raspberry Pi comes with a little USB formatting dongle, and you can buy a memory card. In this case, this is a 32 gigabyte memory card that I purchased online, and you can stick it right here in the end of this. It only goes in one way, so that's pretty cool. And you can go to Raspberry Pi's website and download their operating system and put the entire Debian Raspberry Pi operating system on this card and get it ready to go. And the reason that you need to do that is so that you can put the card in before you start assembling your Raspberry Pi. Once again, this card only goes in one way, so you shouldn't have a problem with putting it in backwards, right? If you stick it in the wrong way, it doesn't go in very far. If you stick it in the right way, you can push it pretty much all the way in. So that is the assembly of the Pi itself. And I'm going to start here with the case plate. And I don't have the instructions, so I'm going to be like a typical guy here and try to assemble this without any instructions. The basic idea behind this is you can build this into a small assembly like this, and then stack up items like these plates and things with them. Now, again, I haven't really looked at the instructions for this, but there are 2 of these plates, and one of them has the holes that fit the Raspberry Pi. So this is pretty clearly the one that we would use to mount the Pi itself on. And also, you can see that the ports stick out here to this side, so we would want to put the screws in through these holes. And just looking at these screws, I see some little standoffs and screws, and then I see these bigger standoffs that will go to the next plate. So that's the way that's going to work. So the first thing I'm going to do here is assemble the Pi on these little standoffs. So I'm just going to assume here, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct this in the video. Couple things. One, there is this paper on here, and I think probably we can remove this paper and make this clear. Looks like it peels right off. Like that. And it says Pi plates right on it. So you can tell they've used a little 3D etcher or something to put their logo into this unit. That's pretty cool. I don't have much in the way of fingernails, so it's hard to get a hold of the corners of these. But after I've peeled the paper off, you can see that. That's pretty cool. Pi plates. So I'm going to stick this screw in through the back side. It's kind of which direction do you want to be able to read this? Since it's backwards this way and it's forwards this way, I think I'll put the screws in from the side where the logo is. I don't think it probably matters other than for aesthetics. And then screw the little standoff in. Pretty easy so far, and I'm an old guy, so if I can do it with my bad eyes and shaky fingers, then you should be able to do this even easier. And it's probably a good idea to take a tool and go ahead and tighten these while you've got these, but I don't have any tools at this desk, so I'm going to try to do this just by hand. So far, so good, though. So after I put all the little standoffs, that's kind of what it looks like. Then I take my Pi here, set it on the standoffs. You can hold everything together like that. And then these little screws should fit right in through the top. So this is a little more stable than the little plastic cases that come with the Pi. And it does look like I'm going to probably need to go get a tool here because I can't even hand tighten these without the screwdriver. Now some of these Pi plates, I believe, actually came with, maybe one of them at least came with a screwdriver. Yeah, here we go. So this is the motor plate, and so hopefully this screwdriver will just fit what I'm doing. You see the little screwdriver there? It looks like it's going to work pretty well. And wouldn't you know it, it's a Phillips head on the actual screw. And this is a straight screwdriver, but it's still enough that I can get it kind of going there. It works pretty well. So if it didn't come with a screwdriver, and it didn't on the this little case plate itself, then you would need to make sure you have a screwdriver. If you didn't happen to buy a motor plate like I did. I think this motor plate, this is actually for the motor leads rather than the mounting screws. The mounting screws on most of these and these standoffs appear to be plastic screws. Okay, so here I've got all of my screws into my standoffs, and now you can see nice little clear plate with the Raspberry Pi mounted to it. And then I'm going to put my first standoff in here, and you can see the standoff fits right on the corner, and I don't think it's going to matter which direction you go. It's going to be threaded on both sides. Once again, there is a plastic screw that goes into the end, and it fits just like that. So you can put the plastic screw in and thread the standoff right onto the plastic screw just like that. And once again, I'm not following directions on this, but I did read ahead of time the order that some of this is supposed to go in. So one of the things they said is make sure you put the power plate in the first position. So I'm going to start with that next. We'll grab the power plate out of here and put it on. I've ordered a DIN plate, and I will continue this video when I get the DIN plate and build my other Raspberry Pi into this DIN plate. But this is a case plate, and once again, the whole purpose of the case plate is to just have a little box that just sits here and it won't be DIN rail mountable. The next item that I need to put in here is the power plate. So we're going to grab a power plate, and I have two of them here. I don't remember ordering 2 power plates, but I got 2. So we'll see if that was a mistake on my part. We've got a few things here. We've got heat sinks, and I have a feeling you're supposed to put the heat sinks on first. I did see a picture of that when I did read through the directions ahead of time. And there is a battery in here also. So there is a real-time clock on this power plate. This is the power plate. You can see here, what does the power plate do? It takes in your 5-volt power and distributes it across all of the other plates. And it does have a fan, and it has these heat sinks. And then you're supposed to stick the heat sinks onto the heat generating items of the Pi. And you know, rather than reading directions, once again, I think I could tell which components these heat sinks actually go on, because they're sized. So sometimes us guys who don't read directions do okay anyway. So again, this is a heat sink. It's just a little aluminum bunch of fins, and the fan is going to sit right over that and blow on it. Once again, use my short little guitar player fingernails. I don't have much in the way of fingernails here. I keep them pretty short. But you can peel the corner off and hopefully stick it right to the top of the processor. So this silver item right here is the main processor, and you can just stick the heat sink right on top of it. And that should keep it nice and cool. There are 2 other heat sinks, and you can see here they're sized with the components on the card. Now this little tiny one, I'm not really sure what it goes on. I'm going to guess this little block over here, since it's about the same size. I believe this is memory. I've looked at the little diagram before, but I'm not 100% sure. And I think this is the communications card. So there's a lot of different kinds of chips, right? This is a system on a chip or single board computer. Once again, peel off the paper, stick the heat sink where I think it goes, which is, I believe, right on this little chip. And I've got 2 of them mounted. And then the third piece, I believe, goes right over here. But I'm not real sure. I'm going to go ahead and stick it there anyway. This board is not going to be used for anything very heavy duty, so I don't expect it to generate a whole lot of heat anyway. I'm on the beginning edge of my Raspberry Pi journey, so I don't expect to be doing anything too hairy. I actually have more heat sinks in my little electronics lab that came with other Pis and things, and so I can always put them on here later. It's really interesting looking at the board of the Pi. You can kind of see where all the pins are and what might be generating heat if you're an engineering geek like I am. So now I have 3 heat sinks on this Pi. I should be able to install the motor board. Here's my battery, and I know the battery fits right in this little piece right here. It's kind of a watch battery, CR1220 lithium battery, and the purpose of it is to keep power on the real-time clock. So the real-time clock keeps the date and time active even when the Pi is shut off. That way, if you need to send data, it does not have to receive the date and time from another source. You do need power on this pretty much the whole time. I do see a little plus sign on the back of this holder right here, and there's also a plus sign on this battery. So again, even without reading directions, you can kind of tell which direction this battery should go in. It goes in just like that. You got to push it pretty hard. And there's the positive side with the battery in it. Once again, pretty easy to figure out how this thing fits on here, because we have these pins here and we have this little connector right here. Now, before we go too much farther, I'm going to say everything I'm doing here comes with a word of warning. I don't necessarily recommend that you do this without reading the instructions, but for the purpose of this video, that's what I'm doing. So you can see here is the header fitting on the end, and it's a pretty good push to get it started. Don't break things. There we go. And when you push this down, there's your connector. And you can stick the, you can either stick the screws in the top, if that's all that you have, or you can stick the next stack, right? So I have 2 different things I can use. I can use these screws and finish it up right here, or I can use this standoff, which all of these standoffs come to the height of the unit that they're connecting. So because the power plate is not very tall, the standoffs are also shorter. So you can see here I've put the standoffs in here, and then these screws would be used for this piece if I wanted to finish my stack here. But of course, in my case, I'm going to put some other plates together with this. I think on this one, I may use the DAC C plate and possibly a relay plate. As a matter of fact, this unit, I'm probably going to use at my house for some home toys. And so there's not going to be a lot of I/O on it. I think I'm going to be using it as a little server. And I have a kind of an extra TV in my living room that right now I just use as a big screensaver. It's actually got an aquarium and fish swimming around on it. We don't use it for much else other than we do run our home security feed into the back of it. So if we want to look at the cameras in our house, you can do that. And I'm going to probably be replacing that unit with this Pi. So that'll be kind of a neat little toy. But anyway, that's a little bit of an introduction to Pi plates. And this is what that unit would look like. And if I were to stick this on here right now, I'd be all done. And I would have, looks like a little bit of I/O here that is connectable by screw. And this may be some kind of a reset button or something on it. I'll be looking a little bit more at the documentation later. But that's a little introduction to Pi plates. I'll be continuing this a little bit later. Thank you for checking it out.